Let me take you back to October 6th at 6:32 in the morning. Janice Joy is walking along Duff Road when a dark-colored pickup truck strikes her and flees the scene. There's a witness. The witness said that they blew the horn at the vehicle that struck Janice. He momentarily touched his brake lights and then took off. He fled. He left Janice on the side of the road to die by herself. We started an investigation, and I've got to tell you, my traffic homicide people are the very best. We documented the scene. This was during the hurricane, so as you can imagine, it was very difficult for us to get any airtime to say, look, we need help. So we put that message out, and thank goodness for someone who called in an anonymous tip. They called that tip into the Lakeland Police Department. The Lakeland Police Department called the sheriff's office and said, hey, we've got a tip on a person who drives a truck, and that truck's not been seen since the crash. So our traffic homicide detectives worked the case up, and I'll give you the details in a minute, but Jarvis Kendrick is the man who struck and killed Janice Joy and left her on the side of the road. Jarvis is a senior vice president for Mid-Florida Credit Union. I want to thank Mid-Florida Credit Union. They have been extremely cooperative as we focused on this investigation. And here's what we learned after we took Jarvis into custody and our investigation. After striking Janice at 6:30 in the morning, he went to Longboat Key where he had a business meeting. He was there all day. On October 7th, he left Longboat Key, went to Tampa International Airport, where he flew to Vancouver, Canada. We don't know what he did there or who he was with, but we are trained detectives. We know that evening that he had 2 entrees and 4 glasses of sangria wine. He was in Vancouver on October 8th. On October 9th, he flew back into Tampa to TIA at about 10:45 in the evening. And wouldn't you know it, at 11:20 on the night of October 9th, he had a wreck on Interstate 4 at McIntosh Road. He hit a sign, and he did damage to his vehicle. He called the Highway Patrol, where he reported that damage and that vehicle crash. The Highway Patrol took the report. The vehicle from there went to the Ford company over in Plant City, and he got a ride home. Called his wife and said, hey, I'm on my way home. I had a crash out on the interstate, but I'm fine. We met with a trooper, and this was a head-on crash into a sign, as we call a breakaway sign. Our traffic homicide detectives could see where there was no braking, there was no attempt to miss the sign, where in fact he crashed head-on into the sign. And the suspicious part about that is that crash would not have torn off his passenger side rearview mirror, but it was missing. It was missing from the time of the crash. If you look, we have video where just the day before he was at a drive-through, and there is his rearview mirror. And immediately after, 7 minutes after the crash, we have other photographs, and we also have some at Tampa International where that mirror is totally gone. So He faked this crash on the interstate to get his police report, notified his insurance company, took the car in for repair, and went home. We arrested him, obviously, after we put all the circumstances together. And we talked to his wife, and we go, "What was he doing in Vancouver?" She said, "We don't know anybody in Vancouver. He was not up there. He was to be at a meeting in Longboat Key, and then he was supposed to go over to the Orlando area toward the end of the week to another meeting." Well, newsflash, he went to Vancouver and drank some sangria. He won't be drinking any sangria in the county jail where he is today. Ladies and gentlemen, we still need help on this investigation. I want you to think back to October 6th, in and around 6:30 in the morning. We're still looking for witnesses just before and just after this crash. Did you see something around that crash time that didn't mean anything to you then, but now that the hurricanes are over and you can focus on this tragic event, can you give us pieces and maybe links to the chain that we want to finish out, accounting for every minute before the crash and after the crash? Now, here's something that's interesting. And this is the caution we want to put out to the community. If you're DUI and involved with a crash with a fatality and you stay at the scene, it's a felony too. If you are charged with vehicular homicide, it's a felony too. When you leave the scene of a crash with a death, it's a felony 1. The legislature recently changed that law, and I can remember when I was working with a team of ladies whose one son died on Highway 60 from a hit-and-run crash. They started a group called HARD, Hit and Run Driver. They worked with the legislators to say, look, let's make it more serious to leave a crash with a death than to stay at the scene, call for help, and render aid. And in the brilliance of the Florida legislature, that's what they did. So Jarvis Kendrick is now facing a first-degree felony. Oh, did I talk about his tampering with evidence? And then when he goes to first appearance and he's sworn in under oath, our homicide team says, now we've got him lying under oath to the judge. So he's also under investigation for those charges. So here's a clue. Jarvis, you could have stayed at the scene and helped that lady and called for help, and ostensibly she's in the roadway. You wouldn't have even received a traffic citation. But when you hit that lady and you left that human being to die in the road alone and fled, you committed a first-degree felony for which we're going to do our very best to send you to prison for a very long time.